Jai Gurudev. Today we will be reading a book named Pause and Think, written by Pandit Sri Ram Sharma Acharya. Bodily lusts, when they raise their heads in time, appear very pleasing, but their fruits are so unbearable that a solution becomes almost impossible. The family of the problems created by insatiable desires is even bigger. Take money for example. It is required for a smooth maintenance of our and our family's living. A man must maintain one's life according to one's income and be satisfied with it. He must use his remaining energy for own salvation and social welfare. But who in reality does this? Everyone's ambitions jump from earning 1000 rupees to 100,000 rupees and then 1 crore rupees. Accumulating wealth and then blowing it up is so pleasing to them that they are always eager for acting that way. The activity to achieve all this has to be increased to such an extent that one does not even get the leisure of eating and sleeping. The result of selfishness is unhappiness, whereas happiness results from helping others as well as a spiritual salvation. People know all this and yet commit the same mistake again and again. They desire to tread the path to salvation, but their mind is corrupted with the desire for a life of indulgence. The mind feels guilty and ashamed, and yet it is attracted in the same direction, that is, the wrong path of luxurious indulgence. This power, which makes a person knowingly walk the wrong path, is known by the term Maya or lack of proper knowledge. People are so much attracted to temporary gains that they do not even care to think about their bad results in the future. This foolishness may also be called by such terms as discretion, impatience, or lack of sensibility. One must seriously think that if death were to strike us right now, how will our presently troubling problems, ambitions, and the worries be solved? Life has been described as a mere bubble of water, and this is not untrue. We see death striking youngsters in the prime of their lives and see their funerals passing by. We see children like delicate flowers wilting away. Is it certain that we will get a chance to live 100 years when we see the funerals of young men and delicate children passing by? Even 100 years will pass away very quickly. The mood thought is that when death strikes, you will not be there to solve any of the problems. The basic necessities of life can be fulfilled. Enough time is available for the salvation of a person whose ambition is limited to feed and clothe his family suitably. The tornado of ambitions and lust swipes away man's virtuous strength. If one can free oneself from these poisonous influences, then sufficient time is available in which to think and do salvation. God has created man in his own image. Utilize this body in the shape of his image for doing something immortal. There can only be two uses or purposes of this life. 1. A busy life so full of lust and unquenchable desires that one will neither have the desire nor the time for the salvation of the soul. Second, a life in which limited ambitions are satisfactorily achieved and one achieves salvation while discharging his responsibilities for the family and the society. The second lifestyle is obviously the most certainly visionary and more beneficial. But the sad and the surprising fact is that today all of us are adopting a lifestyle which produces nothing but the restlessness, pain, and remorse. One must think deeply on the above two lifestyles and compare their results for choosing the right path. Surprisingly, we spend most of the time in finding out successful solutions to a large number of problems. But unfortunately, we cast into the dustbin the questions of properly utilizing the precious body which God Almighty has created in His own image. If you can estimate the painful damage and remorse which such indifference can produce, then we would be wise enough to correct this powerful mistake. Normally, we feign lack of time for an activity which we consider unimportant, useless, and worthless. Similarly, we are negligent to find time for personal salvation too. Is this policy of indulging the cravings of mind and body throughout the day while neglecting the upliftment of the soul but not finding the time for it right? In this world, the roads to upliftment and downfall leads in the opposite directions. The road to upliftment is the road to salvation, and the one of downfall is full of selfishness. The same two are also known by such names as sins and virtues, good and bad, etc. One leads to praise, heavenly happiness, and peace, while the other leads to sensuous, hellish experiences and restlessness. Man has to choose between the above two for either a life of peace and happiness or a life of unhappy and quarrels. When a man chooses the path of salvation, he adopts and experiences heavenly peace. The person adopting the opposite path of indulging uncontrollable desires becomes animal like, degenerates into a demon, and rots in hellish restlessness. In his unwise desire of quick profit without caring to think about the future, man starts doing bad deeds. Instead, if he starts thinking about achieving permanent peace, his viewpoint will change. With a changed viewpoint, he will start thinking like a sensible person and will behave with kindness. The integrity of the man's character depends only on such a permanent viewpoint. The peace and happiness of this world depends on the development of his type of sensible thinking. Our goal, too, under the edges of our Yug Nirman Yojana, that is, creation of new era, is the same. The main support of achieving this goal is that a man should look into the future, think in advance about the possible results of today's work, and then act with that discretion. He should do only what is proper, think only that which is worthwhile, and adopt only what is proper. Only the warrior capable of regaining his mind, which wants to run after temptation, can win in his life struggle. The person who has the courage to walk the rough path of the struggle and accept the seemingly uninteresting program but keeps in mind the bright prospect of the future will most certainly reap the fruit of his hard work. Only such a person deserves to be called a man of patience. Such persons are the decoration of this earth, and they are the one who can create heavenly on this earth. It has become essential today to find out such men and train them. Every great man has to go through the testing ground of severe difficulties and obstacles in this world. Only that person has lived a meaningful life who saves himself from the temptation of his complicated world, who is always discreet and discriminates and does not retreat from the path of good. In reality, he journeys through the life successfully without being bewitched by temptations, which differentiates him as a human being. Great is the path of salvation. It is not at all difficult to walk on this path on virtue, salvation, excellence, greatness, religiousness, and faith. It is not at all difficult to achieve the peace continuously experienced by taking to this course. Real understanding, ability, and knowledge can be considered the conscience of man. Conscience or the soul by itself is pure, knowing, and awakes, and therefore the darkness of ignorance cannot enter in it. It is not possible for untruth to exist before God. Similarly, it is not possible for untruth to enter the soul. Only that is proper knowledge which is seen, heard, and understood by men's conscience. Only the man ruled by his conscience can see the truth and obtain proper knowledge. All the grief, afflictions, and unhappiness of dualities abate automatically after attaining real knowledge. Neither darkness nor unhappiness can reside where there is light and knowledge. In other words, lack of light means darkness, and the absence of knowledge causes grief. There is only one way of becoming familiar with one's conscience, and that is one should always be alert and have the desire to know about it. Only a person who is alert and willing to learn more and more about a subject and delves deep into it is able to succeed in it. Be alert and have a burning desire to know more and more about your conscience. You will become familiar with it. Listen to its voice, get real guidance, and release yourself from ignorance and achieve real peace and happiness. It is extremely important for a person who wants to be familiar with his soul to ignore the uproar of the mind and listen to the inner voice of the conscience or the soul. Why is the man's soul not seen by him? Why does it plays hide and seek when the conscience is his friend and well wisher? This question comes up in any man's mind. The simple answer to this is that man's conscience is always before him, but man imagines that he does not see him. The sun is always present, but it is not seen when some obstacles come between the sun and the eyes. Similarly, the curtain of mind is present between man and his conscience, and therefore man feels the absence of his conscience. If a man can ignore the principality of his mind, then his conscience will definitely be before him like a bright light. Everything here is subject to the domination of the five elements, that is, fire, water, air, light, and space or sky, which are innate and have no feelings or meaning of their own. But the conscience has feelings and the power to love. Wherever the aura of the soul or the conscience spreads, love, pleasantness, beauty, and goodness are felt. The usefulness and the cooperation of things and people is in direct proportion to the strength of the soul. This conclusion is loaded with truth. People are more or less aware of it. But what a surprise that despite knowing this profound truth, we pretend ignorance. We have forgotten the importance of the soul and are madly running after material objects. Have you ever thought that mere outward change is not worthwhile without a real inner transformation? Why should we feel that we are poor? Instead of considering our limited wealth as our own, should we not consider the entire creation as the wealth of our Pranampita, our Supreme Father, the Creator of this universe? Why should we feel the lack of friends, sons, and near ones? Why should we not feel all the people of this earth as our family? Why should we remain helpless and weak? Why should we not develop the endless strength which is innate in our soul? The world will be helpful and useful to use in proportion to the development of our soul. A lot is there within us, not only plenty, but everything. What is seen outside by us is merely a reflection of what is within. Spiritualism is not but seeking and identifying this treasure, understanding it, improving it, making it, and developing it. The importance of spiritualism is endless and unfathomable. The area and importance of the field of spiritualism is vast and very important. The success of spiritualism is so great that discreet people enter this field even though they may have to face innumerable difficulties and make big and personal sacrifices. Seers, sages, monks, and hermits were not fools. They were very practical in the real sense of the word because they had adopted the practical policy of rejecting small benefits for achieving big benefits. The farmer does the same thing when sowing seeds in the field. Spiritual endeavor apparently looks like a losing deal with a waste of time, but in reality, it is full of meaning. Faith and trust, adventure and patience, concentration and stability, determination and resolve. These are the elements on whose basis spiritual endeavor succeeds. Jai Gurudev.